just wanted to stop in for a quick minute and say hello. And share maybe I need to brush my teeth again. You know, sometimes when you eat something and then it's like you realize how much certain stuff other than other stuff gets stuck to your teeth. Like if you eat something with like heavy starch, it sticks to your teeth more often or so. Anyway, random observation, sorry. But actually I wanted to stop by and say hi and give you a little insight that I have realized in my life, and it actually has to do with food. So I guess that was a good intro. Thank you, universe. Thank you, myself. So I think that I know that for me in my life and where I'm at and the direction that I'm pointing, of course it's taken a long time for me to gather up all my pieces to be able to point into the same direction. So this is another one of those times where I want to always remind everyone, never ever compare yourself to somebody else, because you don't know what pieces they're working with. You don't know what pieces are pointing where. Like, it takes a lot of conscious, self-loving heart work to get all your pieces gathered into at least a cohesive enough pile to point in the same direction. So don't feel like, oh, this person has all their stuff together and stuff. And I'm not even talking about me. I'm really thinking about other people that I see that I sometimes compare myself to. And sometimes I'll be like, oh my gosh, they got it all together. Like, they're so set in their head. They're so set in their life. And no, it's really just a collection of their pieces that are pointing in the same direction. And even sometimes you can achieve large things, what people would assume to be large things outside of maybe what even you would think you could achieve, all because a few of their pieces are pointing in the same direction. So don't compare yourself to people, because everybody's pieces are pointing everywhere, and it takes a lot of work to be able to even get a chunk of them to point in the same direction. So don't feel any type of unloving way about yourself when you don't see your pieces pointing in the same way as someone else's. Okay, anyway, that's all I have to say. So anyway, for me in my life though, and the way that my pieces are pointing towards where I want them to go, I have fully and completely realized that my dance with the way that I eat sometimes needs to no longer be such a tango type dance. Or actually, tango might, I don't know. Anyway, what I'm saying essentially is we all have this dance with the way that we eat. Like, some days we feel like we eat better than others. Some days we want that balance of kale in one hand and cookie in the other, and like, you know, whatever. So for honestly, I don't even know how many years now I've been vegan, which means I don't eat any animal products. Now, there have been a couple times where something I wanted had mayonnaise on it, which has egg in it, and I have just essentially closed my eyes to it and ate it anyway. And I've fully regretted every single one of them. So it didn't come until pretty recently that I was like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. And then before that, I was vegetarian. And before that, I just kind of grew up the way a lot of people grow up. However, I didn't really like meat. It just wasn't my thing. I mean, there was a point in time where I would have killed for a fat, juicy steak, but I still liked it cooked medium well, like chew on it for 3 hours. So I wasn't really ever a meat person, and it wasn't until my husband pointed that out that he was like, why do you even eat it? If you like, because we would go to restaurants and I would kind of gravitate towards the non-meat options. Like if we went to an Italian place, I'd kind of get spaghetti, but I didn't want the meatballs or, something like that. And so he was just kind of like, why do you even eat it? And that kind of got me thinking like, well, I don't fucking know. Why do I eat it? And so that was a point in time where I had to reevaluate a piece of me that, like, why do I eat meat? And does it make me feel good? Does it bring me joy? Does it open my heart space? Like, and of course I wasn't consciously aware of why I was evaluating that, but it did seem like something at the time that I needed to evaluate. And so then became vegetarian, then realized how much cheese is like crack, for me anyway, and for a lot of people, and you can have your opinion about it or not, but cheese is very addictive. If you enjoy cheese in the way that a lot of people do, cheese is very addictive. And for me, I have several pictures of me eating blocks of cheese. Like, I would hammer down a block of Monterey Jack, sometimes sharp cheddar if I was like in the mood, But anyway, I realized that for me, it clouded my thought process. It clouded my vision. It clouded me being able to align my pieces. If now that I'm like registering it, that's really kind of what it did. Of course, then again, at that point in time, I wasn't consciously aware of really what it was doing to me, but it just wasn't working for me anymore. So now, anyway, the whole point of the fucking video, I have now gotten to a point where I fully realize that I have to eat very high raw, if not completely raw. I don't think at this moment in time I am 100% fully and completely raw, only because I need to let it flow in a natural pace. And if I made it a forced thing in my head and like restriction and cut off, then it wouldn't work out in the long term for me, which has happened before, and I'm sure it's happened with other people in their lives, and not necessarily with raw, but with other things. But it just goes to the example of, I've been making these really awesome dressings, like bomb dressings, and eating it with all my fruits and veggies and whatever else, mostly vegetables like celery or some shit, and have my dressing and all this stuff, and I feel like I can fly afterwards. Like, seriously, I feel like I can fly. And then last night I wanted some chocolate, which I've had a lot of kryptonites in my life, but chocolate has always been a constant one. And so I bought me a yummy vegan cupcake, which I don't even like cake, which is a huge... I don't like cake. I don't like the texture of it. It's disgusting. But these cupcakes are like super moist, and like they're yummy enough chocolate that I just don't fucking care what the texture is, really. But they are pretty moist, so it's not like super cakey and stuff. So, got my cupcake. I had ate all raw all day, and I didn't even really realize I did. I just did. I had a smoothie, and worked on that for several hours because it was a very large smoothie. It filled up the entire blender. I used my mother-in-law's Vitamix blender, which is like 72 ounces or something. I don't know. The blender was full. So I drank all of that over the course of several hours. And then I made myself a dip. I had a leftover dip that I had made the day before, and I had half of it for that day because it was a large quantity of dip. And then, of course, if you're dipping things into it, you get full. You don't need the whole batch that you made. So the other half I still had, and so I ate that with some stuff, and it was so good. So good. I can't even explain, like, so good. But I wanted chocolate. Okay, cool. So I get my chocolate little cupcake. I ate it. Immediate pain. Like excruciating pain in my kidneys. Of all the places. Like, I'm still kind of pondering over the whys and the whats. I fully understand like innately why, but as humans we want to make logical reasoning out of it, and so I'm still trying to ponder over the logistics of why it made my kidneys hurt so terribly bad immediately. And but that wasn't even the thing that bothered me the most. So I have, for a long time, I thought I had really kicked its ass, but I have depression. It runs in my family. I've tried medicine. I don't want to be a zombie. For me, it made me a zombie. I don't want to be a zombie. Like, I don't want to be on autopilot all the time. I want to be able to be in control of my own self. And I know fully and completely that our bodies can heal themselves in whatever way that we allow them to, really. And really all it is we have to get out of the restrictions of our own head, of the limitations that we think we have as humans, and just allow ourselves to heal ourselves. Of course, that doesn't just come overnight, and you can't continue to do the same things that you did in order to get to that state. So it takes a lot of work, which people don't really want to make lifestyle changes in that radical of a fashion most of the time, which is why we go to the straight solution of a pill. Cool. Okay, great. I'm not knocking that at all, because it really fucking works for some people. It really does. I do believe, though, that it works only for a certain period of time and only for a certain extent, but that's another video and not what I'm speaking on right now. So, for me, pills are a no. So, I made lifestyle changes, like large ones, a lot, quickly. And I realized the cleaner that I ate, the happier I was. Like, I didn't have this looming, just deep sorrow and sadness, like, because sometimes when my depression hits, it's like an immediate throat punch of life. Like, nothing has ever, will ever, or is ever going to go right, ever. And it's such an awful feeling, especially when you come from a place of knowing that there are times that you don't feel that anymore. Oh, damn. I think I told you I need to brush my teeth again. Y'all were probably staring at it for a long time, weren't you? So see, earlier I had some Mexican food. It was certainly not raw. It was vegan, but it was certainly not raw. And it's just funny to be aware of what things do to our human vessel. And so for me, raw is like a necessity now, to keep all my pieces pointed in the direction that I know that I want them to be pointed in. Now, of course, I'm going to have times where I want chocolate. Of course, I'm going to have times where I want Mexican food or this or that and whatever. And so that's when it just really comes to which consequences do you want to live with? Do you want to indulge in this thing right now and have the consequences of feeling yucky mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever later? If you're fine with that, and then you know that it's not going to be a continuous thing, and like I'm not trying to self-sabotage, but I'm also not trying to restrict myself to the point that I feel forced into things. So yeah, it just really comes down to the consequences of what you're ready to deal with. I mean, everything is about consequences, and consequences, we've been conditioned to always think they're bad, but they're not. They're just what occurs from what occurs. But anyway, I really just wanted to give another video and say hi, howdy, hey, how you doing? And say, I'm gonna go in here, and I have a list. You want to read my list? Here. I've got, this is my grocery list: sprouts and microgreens, bananas, raw whole hemp seeds, dulse flakes and kelp granules, like salty stuff, dates, dried apricots, celery, jalapenos, golden raisins, cilantro, tomatoes, sweet peppers, lemons and limes, broccoli, ginger, arugula. And then I got cream of broccoli on here too for my daughter. So yeah, it's what makes you happy. Now, we all say there's this thing now, it's kind of a universally known thing, I think, that happiness isn't outside of ourselves. However true that is, because it is true, your compass to happiness is inside yourself. But the things that you do on the outside are what leads to the finding of the route that your compass is pointing. So if your happiness would be to not have brain fog and not be so forgetful all the time, and to be able to have a clear and concise conversation with people in your life, however, you always eat bunches of cheese, super starchy foods, and you drink alcohol on a regular basis, sometimes you smoke, whatever. And this isn't a judgment thing. This is just an honest assessment of what you're doing and whether those things that you're doing or not are pointing the way your compass is wanting to point. So are you sabotaging your own happiness by not using the tools that you have on the outside of you to assist your compass? You might have to go north, but on the way north, there are trees and shrubs and snakes and bushes and things all in your way, and there's a knife over here, and then there's a spatula. Like, are you picking up the spatula to try to cut these bushes and trees and get these twigs out of your way so you can walk on your path that you're supposed to walk? Because that's not gonna fucking do anything. You're gonna sit here swatting at tree branches and they're gonna swat you back. Take the fucking knife. That's the tool you need. So, what is inside of us. The tools that we use to assist what is are on the outside of us. What tools are you using? That's it. Anyway, I'm gonna go in here and buy all this shit and make a super yummy dressing later. Eventually, I would like to do some videos of dressings and stuff. I also have thought about other things regarding dressing. I'll just put that out there. So anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day. And just love yourself where you are right now. Because if you can't love yourself where you are right now, you're never going to get to where you want to be, because who you are right now is the foundation for who you will be. Toodalooski.